You take Dame Dollar and you put him in that system with those players, especially Giannis, it's going to be Shaq and Kobe like. I got them winning it all.
Flashback.
Are they right now the best team in the East?
Absolutely, Greeny. Look, we're looking at the next possible Kobe and Shaq.
So if you guys haven't been living under a rock lately, you know Dame Lillard is the newest member of the Milwaukee Bucks, joining fellow superstar Giannis Antetokounmpo. And this duo coming together, this team coming together, the hype is definitely off the charts. And speaking for myself, I think it's pretty clear this duo, at worst, will be a top 3 duo next season. And look, I get the hype, I get the hysteria, but for a lot of NBA fans, anytime a big time trade, big time move goes down, people go above and beyond with the hyperbolic takes and his nonsensical arguments. As when James Harden got traded to Brooklyn, it was, well, that's a wrap, the championship's over, and Brooklyn's winning it. When Russ went to the Lakers, a very similar thing. The Lakers are winning 70 games, they're a super team, they're going to win 1 championship, if not 2. Even when PG went to the Clippers, all of a sudden him and Kawhi were dubbed Jordan Pippen 2.0. When it comes to buying into the hype, overhyping things, we're all guilty of that. And when it comes to the NBA media, they're very guilty of that. As anytime a superstar duo forms, it gets automatically dubbed the next Shaq and Kobe. And while those two guys are the standard for a great duo, we're getting to the point where Shaq and Kobe as a duo is kind of getting watered down, being compared to all these other tandems. Just a rule of thumb for all you guys, can we wait 1 game, 1 week, maybe just 1 month in the season before we anoint these guys as the greatest duo in NBA history? And look, I do get it. Giannis and Dame as a duo have the potential, most likely, to be the best duo in the NBA. But the best in Shaq and Kobe 2.0, please stop that and pump the brakes. As those two guys back in their era, and really for any era, dominated the game like no other duo before them or after them. As looking at the overall numbers, from 2000 to 2003, Kobe averaged 26.5 points, 5.6 boards, 5.0 assists, 1.4 steals on 44.4% shooting. Of course, offensively those stats are simply amazing. One thing that's severely overlooked is Kobe in that 4-year time period also made 4 all-defensive teams, including 2 first-team all-defensive. And also in addition to that, was 4-time All-NBA. And looking at Shaq, just like Kobe, in that 4-year time period was simply dominant, averaging 29.4 points, 14.6 boards, 3.1 assists, 2.5 blocks, on nearly 55% shooting. And many forget Shaq wasn't just the MVP, the scoring champ, but 3 times was all defensive. And if you look at the combined output offensively of Shaq and Kobe, they averaged 55.9 points per game over a 4-year period in the playoffs. For any all-time duo over a 4-year period, that is the highest of the modern era since the ABA merger. And one thing I do want to highlight, when people talk about all-time great duos, the best duos today, mainly what they're talking about is offensive duos in that one end of the floor. But defensively, Kobe and Shaq, much like Jordan Pippen, could hold their own on both ends. As looking at 2000, I would say the best defensive version of Shaq, maybe even Kobe. That year Shaq ranked first in defensive win shares, and Kobe was 10th despite missing 16 games. For comparison, Giannis last year in 2023 ranked 11th in defensive win shares. Definitely respectable, but Dame Lillard was all the way down at 284. If you're gonna dub some duo the next Shaq and Kobe, make sure both those guys are elite on both ends of the floor. And for a duo like Shaq and Kobe, who won 3 straight titles, don't ever compare them to Embiid and Harden, who can't win 3 straight playoff games, let alone championships. And many would say the most dominant version of Shaq and Kobe, and just that Lakers 3-peat team, was in 2001. As in the playoffs, they went 15-1, at the time, the best record in postseason history. And leading into the NBA Finals, they hadn't lost a game in just under 3 months. My overall point is pretty simple. This duo offensively is one of the best of all time, if not the best. But defensively also, they're right up there with Jordan Pippen as one of the best two-way duos of all time. And looking at 01, the peak of Shaq and Kobe, in the playoffs combined, they averaged 59.8 points per game. Again, for all duos since the merger, that ranks first all time, while both guys made all defensive second team. And going back to Giannis and Dame, for this Bucks team, yes, they are a duo, but more so, it's a big three if Chris Middleton is healthy. For those Lakers teams, especially in 02, it was a two-man tandem leading that team to championships. As in the playoffs that year, they combined for 55.1 points per game and only had one teammate in double figures, that being Derek Fisher. That Lakers duo, quite literally, was carrying their team to the championship. Unlike Milwaukee, who theoretically has Chris Middleton, a former All-Star, who can average 20 points per game any single season. And if you think of the best duos in NBA history, Magic, Kareem, Jordan, Pippen, even KD and Steph, when it comes to an individual final series, dominance-wise, I don't think any of them come close to 02 Shaq and 02 Kobe versus the Nets. As in that series, Shaq averaged 36.3 points a game and Kobe 26.8. For the entire series in a 4-game sweep, Shaq and Kobe combined for above 60 points per game. And for the overall summary of how good this duo was at their peak, looking at 2000-2003, when he had a playoff scoring Shaq ranked second and Kobe ranked third. And for that era, averaging 27 points, 29 points, in today's league is averaging 30 or even 32. And pretty important to note, the Shaq and Kobe duo, at different times in that run, led the playoffs in scoring, Shaq in 2000 and Kobe in 03. And for that exact same time period, if you look at the highest scoring playoff runs for an individual, Shaq and Kobe were responsible for half the list. Really, their only competition was Allen Iverson, who was going solo, shooting 40 times per game. Once again, going to prove this duo was the top tier on both ends, offensively and defensively. As for defensive win shares, Kobe in that time period ranked 6th, and Shaq ranked 2nd. It definitely is pretty remarkable, talking about the NBA playoffs where everyone's going all out to win a championship. Both Shaq and Kobe, for a 4-year period, were top 10 scorers and top 10 defenders. That single fact right there is why you can't compare Dame and Giannis to Shaq and Kobe, among others. And hypothetically speaking, what Dame and Giannis will be, it'll be Giannis going nuts for 45 minutes, dropping 30, 35 points, and then Dame in the final minutes, if needed, closing the deal with good shot making and great fourth quarter play. That is a theoretical fit of this duo and how they'll play together. But even in that hypothetical, if Dame and Giannis max out offensively and defensively, they're not touching Shaq and Kobe as a 1-2 punch. As Shaq in 2001 was the most dominant force in the paint the game has ever seen. As in total, he made 506 shots at the rim and around the basket on 77.4% shooting. For comparison, the second place finisher didn't even crack 340 makes in the paint. And if you look at fourth quarter scoring in 01, Kobe's main job in the fourth quarter averaged 6.9 points on 43.7% shooting. That ranked 4th in the NBA that year. And even Shaq in his own right was fantastic, averaging 7.1 points, ranking 3rd on a ridiculous 58.5% shooting. I never thought I'd say this about Shaq and Kobe, but now in 2023, heading into 2024, these two guys as a duo are kind of underrated. And when it comes to the comparisons being compared to LeBron and Anthony Davis, other great bigs and guard duos, look, if you want to be wrong and compare those guys to them, go ahead and do that. But the one thing I just simply can't stand is the overall attitude that everything today is better than what happened yesterday. And the constant need to have the second coming of this, the second coming of that, second coming of Jordan, second coming of Kobe, or guys like Shaq and LeBron. Those guys are all-time great players, all-time great duos, for a reason. And the odds we see LeBron 2.0, Kobe 2.0, it really is slim to none. And when it comes to a two-man tandem, I highly doubt you get two guys who are both top 5 players, even top 3 players, on the same roster that three-peat together. Highly doubt that ever happens again. So that right there is the end of the video. As always, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time.